And now that I have your attention, let's go ahead and jump right in to what we're going to be talking about today. Now, not too long ago, I made this video called Is This How SnowRunner Should Have Started? And in it, I featured a mod of a Chevrolet K1500. And then I received comments like, just another OP truck. Oh, this isn't over the top? I think you and I have a very different definition of over the top. But this is overpowered. There is no challenge. I used to like your videos, but now they're just unrealistic. And before we go any farther, I'm not saying that anybody is not allowed to have any different opinions of any kind of mods. If you think mods are overpowered in general, I completely get that, I respect that, but I find the approach of these comments really interesting, so that's what we're going to be diving into. And I want to take a moment to really dive into the first one that I mentioned that literally just said, just another OP truck. And I see this in so many different parts of the SnowRunner community. I see it in the comment sections of different mods on mod.io. I see it in my own comment section all the time. And what I find so interesting about it is that most people that will go out of their way to say, oh, that's just, they'll look at a mod and they'll say, oh, just another OP truck, don't really know that a lot of these mods have different ranges of selectable power options and selectable even tire grip, right? Take, for example, the truck that I'm driving right now on screen, which is John Hot Rod's new Ram 3500 Mega Cab. Right now, I'm running the lower powered engine and the vanilla grip tires, and the setup is actually benchmarked off of the Vanilla Game F750. Now, obviously, there have been little chassis adjustments and suspension adjustments here and there, but here's the thing. It is basically designed around that vanilla game balance, and so even with a mod, that is fully achievable. So effectively what people are doing when they see a mod truck in the game and they immediately write it off as overpowered before even driving it or diving into the options, effectively what they're doing is they're just writing it off purely on visuals alone. And a truck could look any certain way and perform completely differently. So writing it off purely on visuals as looking overpowered doesn't make any sense to me personally. Now, if you don't like the way, let's say, a Dodge looks, and you're like, oh, I don't like the way Dodges look, I would never drive one. Here's the thing. I feel like that's a lot more of a viable, argument, because if you don't like the way something looks, then I understand why you wouldn't drive it based on the way it looks. But if you look at it, especially if it's not moving, if it's not being driven, and you look at it and you go, oh, that looks overpowered, I'm gonna say it's overpowered. That's a little bit different. That's just automatically assuming it's overpowered before even having driven it or looking at the options. Now, the next comment I wanted to talk about said, well, you and I have a very different definition of overpowered. And that, I think, is totally valid, right? If your definition of overpowered is, I've seen some people in the SnowRunner community where their definition of overpowered is they won't even use any vehicle in a setup that has an S+ powered weight rating, whether it's vanilla game or not. Like, whether it's a vanilla game vehicle or a modded vehicle, if it has an S+ powered weight rating, they won't use it because they believe that's overpowered. And here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with having different definitions of what overpowered is, right? I mean, there's no universal scale and no universal definition of what a overpowered SnowRunner vehicle is. But what I usually find it coming back to, and what I usually find people kind of pinpointing is, oh, well, that makes the game, air quotes here, easier than it was designed to be, right? In their opinion, like, if something makes the game easier than it was designed to be, then that's where the quote-unquote overpoweredness comes into play. And some people define it in terms of speed, some people define it in terms of tire grip, some people define it in terms of tire size. It really all depends on what your definition of overpowered is. And again, that goes back to everybody's definition of it is a little bit different. Now, I'm not here saying that, say for example, the Megabus is not overpowered, because sure, the Megabus is overpowered, right? It's just this massive thing that's the size of a building with, 4-story tires. Well, maybe not 4 stories, but they're huge, right? But the point of the Megabus isn't to play within the rules of the game, and this is where this topic always gets interesting. The point of mods in SnowRunner, and in fact, the point of mods in Spin Tires, the point of mods in MudRunner, the point of mods in SnowRunner, the point of mods in any other game, Farming Simulator 22, GTA 5, whatever the case may be, the point of mods is to make the game more fun. Full stop, period. It's literally the whole point of mods, or modding any game. The whole reason why people put time, effort, resources, I mean, heck, money, right? Like, the models for mods cost money, a lot of money in some cases. And the point always comes back to enhancing the experience in terms of fun and being able to customize your experience to your own desire. And it all goes back to a idea that you see in, in the real world as well. You see it in the car world, you see it in the truck world, but particularly in the car world, where you see some people saying, well, I leave the car entirely stock because that's the way it was intended to be, and therefore that is the best way, right? And then you have other people that are like, well, I really liked the way the car was stock, but I wanted it to do certain things a little bit differently or a little bit better, so I modified it to my own personal taste. And that's the exact same idea. Now, I'm not saying that one is right or wrong or better than the other. I'm just saying that that is the sort of discourse, as it were, that a lot of people get into because, for a lot of us, we see something like, for example, a game like SnowRunner that we really love, but maybe it would be enhanced by something that wasn't in it in the first place. Say, for example, a Ram 3500 Mega Cab. That wasn't in SnowRunner in the first place. Do I think it enhances the experience to have a Ram 3500 in the game? Absolutely. And so did John Hot Rod. So John Hot Rod went out of their way to design and build and animate this mod. They put it in the game, they made it available to everyone, and here it is enhancing my own experience within the game and genuinely making the game more fun. Now, is that to say that the stock in-game vehicles are not fun? No, absolutely not. The stock in-game vehicles are a lot of fun. I remember when the game first came out, and I played through so much of the game, almost all of it, with solely the stock in-game vehicles, the vanilla vehicles, and I genuinely enjoyed them. I mean, I could name offhand vehicles that I had a blast with that came stock with the game. The Royal, for example. The Royal was a blast to drive, and it's actually kind of funny because the Royal is one of my favorite trucks, and in comparison to a lot of the other vanilla in-game trucks, it's actually underpowered. But for whatever reason, that truck ended up being a lot of fun to me, and so I used it a lot. And so with that, I would caution you against completely writing off a mod just because it quote-unquote looks like it could be overpowered. Now, here's the thing. If you don't want to use a certain level of performance in your game, or like, let's say you get a truck mod and you don't like the fact that it's got a certain level of power on an engine option, or you don't like the fact that it's got a certain level of grip on a tire option, the very easy solution to that is to not use that option. If you don't like that option, just don't use the option. Because I see a lot of people that will go out of their way to say, well, this option is over the top and so it shouldn't be available because it shouldn't be there to make anyone else's experience easier, right? But here's the thing. If it's enhancing someone else's experience and it's enhancing their enjoyment within the game, then I'm not really upset about the fact that it made their experience, like that it allowed them to finish a mission a little quicker or a little easier. If they had more fun finishing that mission, then that's really at the end of the day what matters. If you prefer a more difficult game experience in SnowRunner, that's what New Game Plus and Hard Mode are there for. They are there legitimately to allow you to make the game as hard as you humanly possibly want. If you want to limit yourself to, no ranking up, very little cash, stock vehicles only, stock tires only, and, limited amounts of recoveries, you can do all of those things within No Game Plus, and you can make this game harder than Dark Souls if you legitimately want to. But at the same time, I don't think that gives, one certain part of the community more of a, ownership over the game or ownership over the experience than someone that's just having fun blasting down a dirt road in a 1,600 horsepower lifted truck, right? I don't think that makes any one of those experience more or less important or more or less valid or more or less, you know, dedicated to the game. I just think we enjoy the game in different ways. And it's so interesting once again because this type of discussion really wasn't anywhere near as much of a thing in MudRunner, right? I found that in MudRunner, when a mod was released or added to the game, if it was goofy and crazy and over the top, people would be like, even the people that were dedicated to like the stock in-game trucks, they'd be like, oh, look at that goofy thing over there. And then they would just kind of go about whatever they're doing. They might drive it, they might not drive it, whatever. But it wasn't like, oh, you're ruining the experience by using that, and even the fact that it's available and has that option ruins the game. And I'm like, that's so much more of a kind of a SnowRunner thing than it was a MudRunner thing. And I wanted to make this video because as someone that's been around the series for a long time, that point of view is just, it's such an interesting one to kind of dig into and dissect because, you know, we're all just out here to enjoy the game. We're all just out here to have fun. And we all love this game for our own different reasons, and we play it for all of our own different reasons. But that's going to do it for this video. Let me know if you agree, disagree, have any points to add. I'm always down to talk to y'all in the comments about any of these things. And with that, I'll see y'all in the next one. Talk to y'all later.